What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Now, you may have seen this already, but I wanted to go ahead and do a shout out for it as well. teamtrees.org. Mr. Beast, of course, is pushing for this heavily on YouTube as we go into 2020 to work to plant 20 million trees. That sounds like a lot, but in already a couple of days, they've managed to plant 6 million trees, which is tremendous. Of course, another 14 million to go. And the way you actually can plant trees is if you go to teamtrees.org, you can donate there, and for every $1 donated, a tree will be planted around the world. And it is a really, really cool idea, a really good cause, and hopefully we can get to that 20 million mark by the end of this year, but it looks like we're moving along pretty well. Just make sure you go check it out, and you can donate there to help towards the cause. Now, today we have a bunch of stuff to go over, which includes the Outer Worlds developers actually being surprised that the Switch could take care of Outer Worlds and run it, and Virtuous seemed to have a pretty big hand in convincing them that it would all work out. So we got to talk a bit about that. And then also, Microsoft is already trying, they're already trying to sell Xbox Scarlett systems through their Xbox All Access, where they have their financing options. A lot of that stuff to go over today, guys. As always, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit the like button. It does help out, and get subscribed so you can stay updated on all the gaming news going on in the gaming world. And we're going to start a bit today with Sony. Sony was, of course, in the news yesterday alongside Death Stranding, because Death Stranding is going to PC, but something some people may have missed was that they filed a whole bunch of trademarks. Check this out. It seems like they're doing a bit of future-proofing on their end, as they are trademarking PlayStation 6, PlayStation 7, or I should say PS6, PS7, PS8, PS9, and PS10 in Japan. What do you think that stands for? What do you think that means? Yeah, I guess over the course of the next couple of generations, they want to make sure they have that locked down. I don't assume that they're going to try to get crazy with their naming. Once we heard, PS5, we all figured, yeah, it's going to be a straight shot, seems anyway, to the possibility of PS10, as long as, I guess, dedicated home consoles are still around by then, because all I hear is that game streaming is the future, and I'm still wondering if Google Stadia is going to show up on time. Also, if you were someone who was looking at Resident Evil 5 and 6 on the Switch to pick up, but you were kind of annoyed that there wasn't gyro aiming or motion controls to, of course, aim easier, well, it looks like they're fixing that. This is the tweet that was sent out from Resident Evil, and it says, "Heads up, RE fans, Resident Evil 5 and 6 on Nintendo Switch will each include a patch at launch that includes a gyroscopic and motion controls, giving you even more control over how you play. Both games land tomorrow, so pre-purchase now to start playing right at launch." So there you have it. It looks like gyro controls, motion controls will be added in, and that's something that a lot of people wanted for something like Resident Evil 4, but I know on the Wii it was a bit different because it was like pointer controls, but I feel like at this point, if 5 and 6 could have that added in, 4 should be pretty straightforward as well, at least I would think. But that's good for anyone who was unhappy with there not being gyro controls. I think just on the Switch, everyone's pretty much used to it now, or at least the idea of having the option for gyro controls. So there we have it. Yes, it will also be on Resident Evil 5 and 6. We'll just need a patch when that comes out. And if you were someone looking forward to the Panzer Dragoon remake that's coming out this winter, we still don't have a release date for it. It's, of course, we know at this point, coming to the Switch that was unveiled during Nintendo Direct, but it's also coming to the PC, specifically to Steam. They announced it with this tweet here. It says, "Watch out for Panzer Dragoon landing right into the Steam store. Visit Steam and add Panzer Dragoon Remake to your wish list." And if you go there, it just says this winter with no pricing or anything put up there. We do know, of course, there will be a physical copy that will be released for the Switch as well, but this is good. I mean, Panzer Dragoon, of course, getting a remake and getting it out to as many people as possible, as that is a series that is heavily under the radar. I'm happy to see that it's going to PC and Steam and everything, and I'm sure we'll see maybe ultra widescreen support. That'd be cool with high visuals and frame rates and all that stuff. All that stuff will be packed in, but I'm just happy to see Panzer Dragoon go everywhere they can, because remember, there's supposed to also be a second one, so we need this first one to get as many sales as possible so they can continue that. And who knows, maybe they have their eyes on some other stuff. We've heard House of the Dead, maybe there's some other things even out there. So yes, put it wherever you can so we can keep getting these remakes. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with Outer Worlds right away, which is a game that has quickly taken over quite a bit of my playtime now when I'm playing different games on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox, or the Switch. I've been spending a lot of time on the Xbox One X now playing the Outer Worlds, because it's just a very addictive game. It's very fun. It's old school. Well, not not too old school Fallout. It's old school first person Fallout, just with better gun mechanics, and it's not Fallout 76. So overall, they're checking all the boxes here, but I'm having a great time with it, and I am going to be curious about that Switch release when that launches next year. I'll be checking that out as well, as I've played quite a bit of it here on the Xbox. Why not see how it looks on the Switch and runs and everything? And portal mode should be pretty interesting to see. But something that caught my eye, and I think a few others, is that even the Outer Worlds developers were surprised that the Switch would handle this game, that it would be able to at least do it, and Virtuous is on this port. Now, Virtuous, of course, worked on the Final Fantasy games, specifically 10, 10-2, 12, LA Noire, so they have a pretty good amount of experience now working with the Switch, and to see them kind of roll in and do Outer Worlds is interesting, but the fact that they had to kind of show a proof of concept and almost convince the Outer World developers that it would work is something else. Here's actually the quote. I don't remember who first came up with that. It was external to the team. We weren't sure it could be done, but then they started coming out with all these games on Nintendo Switch, and we thought, wow, that's great. And then we saw the proof of concept from the external team who was doing it, and we were very, very surprised. So if you see people kind of talk about games, they're not sure if the Switch is going to be able to run it. To be honest, developers aren't sure if their own games are going to run on the Switch, and that's why we are to the point now where we have basically specialized port studios. Think of Panic Button, right? Iron Galaxy, Virtuous, who, yeah, they've now specialized in being able to get bigger games onto the Switch. I always say bigger games when in my mind I think of almost like games like Witcher 3, that's a big game to put on the Switch, right? File size, for example, is always a problem with the Switch because of cart costs. The fact that Witcher 3 came on a 32 gigabyte cartridge is a big deal, and I'm curious what they're going to do with the Outer Worlds, because from what I remember, it's just under 40 gigabytes after any patches and stuff that are included. So I'll be interested to see if they cut the file size down, or if there is just, unfortunately, some kind of download on top of that physical copy. But hey, maybe by then, because it's sometime next year, it could be mid-2020 at this point, and maybe 32 gigabyte cartridges are even easier to get then, as we've now seen it with The Witcher 3. Hey, maybe Nintendo does something with it and helps them get it on that cartridge. It's going to be interesting. But we've heard Bethesda, even when Panic Button was doing stuff with Doom, saying that, oh, they're doing magic. It's magic, right? That kind of stuff. And to be honest, I would say, anything that looks like it's working for Bethesda it is probably magic, but Doom obviously is pretty good. But hey, Panic Button handled that one, and at this point, I think the bigger publishers, developers, maybe they are looking at the Switch and saying, okay, maybe at this point with the install size, we should start looking at that and maybe working on it a bit more internally at our development studios. But I mean, if you can hire some sort of, external studio like a Virtuos, like a Panic Button to do it, why not? It's very interesting to see these developers surprised that their games will work on the Switch, and all it seemed to take was Virtuos saying, yeah, we can do that. Here's a proof of concept. Do you want to make this happen? And I guess they said yes, and then we had that announcement that surprised a lot of people online. So look forward to, I guess, next year when, hey, maybe Panic Button goes somewhere and shows another big studio that their game can run there. You never know. Have we run into the point where you wouldn't be surprised anymore if another big game shows up? I mean, we just saw The Witcher 3, The Outer Worlds. What's another big game that would surprise you on the Switch? Or at this point, we just out of surprises? Next up, let's talk about Microsoft and Xbox All Access. We talked about this before. This is their way of getting you a system without you having to spend hundreds of dollars up front. In fact, as long as you can get it financed, you leave without putting anything down. Generally, you can pick between an Xbox One S and an Xbox One X. I think people were figuring out that it made a bit more sense to get the X at that point rather than settle for the S, considering you would be financing it anyway over so many months. But now Microsoft is doing a bit of an upgrade option. It kind of reminds me, to be honest, of like cell phones at this point, right? You finance the phone with your bill and everything over 2 years, and then when that's up, you upgrade, and then you get another. Are we heading that way with systems? I don't know. Maybe. You never know, because this is tied to like an Xbox Live subscription service, for example. In fact, they put up a large graph and everything showing off what you get with this. It's the Xbox One console between the S and the X. There are different prices, of course, depending on what it is, since you're basically just splitting it over so many months at that point. You get a 24-month membership to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is like you'll have Xbox Live and everything else as well included. And then you also have the option to upgrade to Project Scarlett once it's available in holiday 2020. Now, I'm not 100% sure on how that upgrade will work. It sounds like you will then have to take, I guess the remaining balance minus whatever Project Scarlett is and everything, and then you have to return the system based on their fine print, and then you'll get Project Scarlett. So you got to make sure your system is in okay shape. Technically, you're, I guess, leasing it still there, and you're going to hand it back. You'll get Scarlett, and then you'll be on your way with the higher monthly bill. That might be easier for some people because let's say Scarlett comes out and it is $500 to $600, but it's nothing up front. You just finance it over so many months. I'd personally rather just save up. Like, as long as they tell us the pricing, like, half a year in advance, at least at E3, as long as we know the pricing at E3 and it's coming out like mid-November, I think that'll give people enough time to save up. But you know what? As long as they can get the financing, I could see some people possibly getting a Scarlett this way, as long as it's available in their area, right? So like they were talking about the UK, Australia, and the US right now. We'll see if they continue to expand that to different parts of the world. But last time they were just doing the US, so they've already started to expand it. Who knows? Maybe someday you'll walk in, you'll sign a contract, and you'll leave with a system with no money down, and then you'll just pay it over the course of 2 or 3 years. And then, oh, look, the Pro version is out, the X version is out, I'll upgrade to that. That could be the future for consoles. We've heard some companies like I think Microsoft, Nintendo, I think even Sony at one point even mentioned that, oh, this could eventually get to a point where generations are like cell phone upgrades. Okay. That would be an interesting world to live in. Next up, we have Luigi's Mansion 3 reviews. They're in, the embargo lifted, and it is currently at an 86 on Metacritic, and that is actually really good for Luigi's Mansion. That is right, I think, tied right now with Dark Moon, which was the highest rated Luigi's Mansion at the time, and this could, of course, go up. It could also go down. It could go down to 85, but if it goes up to 87, this could be the highest rated Luigi's Mansion that has been released so far. Even the GameCube one, I think, was lower. I think that was actually in the 70s, although I like that one. That was a good one. But to see this now doing so well, this is actually turning into, for some people, I would say almost a sleeper hit so far from what we're seeing with reviews. Now, of course, it's out on Thursday, so the 31st, and I'll be picking it up when it drops. I kind of wish it was out today on the 29th so that we'd have it a few days to play it and everything, and then you can get it all set up and stuff for Halloween if you want to kind of play it while you're handing out candy or anything, or I guess even while you're kind of walking around at Halloween, although then you're kind of on the move with your Switch in the dark. I would probably just play it while I'm handing out candy. Either way, though, pick it up morning for Halloween and have some time to play it and stuff. That'll be good. I'm just glad it came out and it turned out to be a good game. I was a little concerned, I'll be honest, that it was going to come out and maybe struggle with Metacritics and reviews and stuff. No, seemed to do fine. So good news there. And well, it's going to come out, and then I guess we look towards Pokemon, and that'll be an interesting thing to see when those reviews come out for that. And then, of course, Death Stranding is coming up. That'll be a big-time controversial one this Friday. But hey, looks like Luigi's Mansion 3 passed the grade on Metacritic, and onward, like I said, to Halloween, and then eventually Death Stranding and Pokemon. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about NBA 2K20. This is an interesting thing to see. Not really. It's not actually that surprising. So do you remember how before we talked about how NBA 2K19 eventually got to a point where they were doing unskippable ads in the game? I think there may have been an option to turn it off, although that was refuted at one point, and I think it was patched in. But now, that's right, people are running into unskippable ads already in NBA 2K20. Is that hard to believe? No, it's Take-Two, it's 2K, we got slot machines, we got microtransactions, we got a $6 price tag, and we have unskippable commercials in the game. This was posted on Reddit, as you're seeing here, with the Converse ad there, saying, I just got my first unskippable ad on NBA 2K20. And you know what's really interesting about this? I was looking through that Reddit thread, and do you know what happened? As I was going through it, people started to realize, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't buy NBA 2K next year. That was seriously the conclusion people were starting to come to. And I've said this before, these games as a service games, even sports games, work off of active users. If everyone stopped playing it, something would have to change. And again, to the point where we are now full of microtransactions, slot machines, casino mechanic, all that stuff thrown in there, and unskippable ads, man, that's tough. That is tough. Like if I got an unskippable ad while I'm trying to play a video game and I had paid full $60 for it, and it's not that much different than the year before they changed, we talked about the taskbar icon on PC where it was still 2K19 that they were using. I would not be happy. I think at that point I would be done with it, but it's 2K. It always becomes the best-selling game of the year the month it releases, straight up in like 20 days. So unfortunately, it's not going to go away, and I think at this point, Take-Two and 2K, they know they can get away with it, so get ready for more Unskipable Ads. Eventually, it'll release a game, and it'll just be nothing but seriously just commercials. And we'll finish up the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This one is from Sorpresa saying, Todd Howard, we have listened to the feedback. We have now added picket signs to the item shop. That would be some next level trolling right there if they just said, hey, self-deprecation like we do on our E3 stages. Here are picket signs. You can boycott us, but it's going to cost you $2.99 per sign. And if you want to handle, it's an extra $1. That would be some next level trolling, and they would probably sell quite a few of those. And the reason I say that is because people bought Fallout first, so yeah, they would probably be able to sell picket signs as well. However, I did say $2.99. It might be more than that, as I saw costumes for upwards of like $15 in their cash shop, which was supposed to exist in the first place so that you wouldn't need a subscription like Fallout first. So yeah, E3 next year is going to be interesting with Bethesda, I would say, unless they get all this all cleaned up. I don't know how, because at this point Doom's been delayed, and are they going to come out and show Starfield next year on the Creation Engine after we just saw the Outer Worlds, which I keep talking about, I know, but the Outer Worlds on Unreal Engine? The Outer Worlds didn't have those kind of bugs that the Creation Engine has. I walked out of my ship, looked to the left, and the person didn't fall through the floor, and I was like, this is good. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the Outer Worlds surprising the developers that it could be on the Switch. Do you think we're kind of beyond that now, where at this point, people are just seeing if it can run within reason, you know, like resolution? Can it fit on a good sized cartridge? It's not gonna cost us a ton of money. Because I think at this point with like The Witcher 3 and we've seen Doom, of course, and some other games, I mean, if they want it to run, it can run. It's just within, again, reason. Also, let me know what you think about NBA 2K20 and the Unskipable Ads, and then Microsoft financing things like the Xbox Scarlett, or at least setting that plan up already for people. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.